Year after year, I used to do Christmas shows. I learned that Christmas shows, like I was selling my sand and doing really well. I took my brother to South America with the money. One year, he had gotten a divorce, and I wanted to make him feel better. So for 6 months, we went to South America on it, and that I could tell stories all day and night about that. But my my theme for today, I'm thinking, is more the changes that happen that changed my life. And one of the, well, I'll tell two, I will tell a South American story because this did change my life or save my life. When I was in South America, that was 1976, I was 25 years old. And we started in Colombia. And my brother and I went down to this place called Puracé. And it was a volcano. And it was sort of like a park. They had some cabins, not many, and it was way in the south of Colombia in a very remote area. And the big thing was it was this volcano, and it was smoking, it was active. And it had hot springs all around it. And so my brother and I wanted to walk to the volcano. And we got there, it was around noon. And we went into the office, there was only one guy there, and he told us it would take about 4 hours to walk it. And so we started walking. We didn't expect to need dinner or anything. We had a bit of water, but not much else. We had enough to walk during the day, and it was, fairly warm. But we were at a good altitude. And we came, as we climbed this hill toward the volcano, we got to a ridge. And on one side of the ridge was a valley. And the valley went right to the base of the volcano. But there was water you could see along the surface. So we thought, you know what, let's walk the ridge. And the ridge was not easy to walk. It was up and down, not mountains, but just up and down a little. And it was this beautiful, rich grass, I guess from the volcano, the years of carbon or whatever in the earth, tall grass. And we'd be walking, and all of a sudden, there'd be a trench, and we'd fall into the trench. Not deep, but where rivulets from the water came. And the 4 hours, by 4 o'clock, we were at the base of the volcano when we should have been done. We should have been back already. And it's getting, to where I'm worried we're not going to get there and back before it's dark. And we start climbing the volcano, and it was ash. No, I wouldn't call it ash. Volcanic rock, like more gravelly. And so you'd step, and it was inclined. So you'd step, and it would come back a little, right? You wouldn't, the ground wasn't solid. So it was difficult. And as we climbed, I was worried that, and I said to my brother, Joel, we should go back. It's going to get, and he said, I said I was going to the top, and I am. And I said, Joel, I don't think that's a good idea. We're running out of time. He said, it doesn't matter. I'm going to the top. I said, I'm going to the top. I'm going to the top. And after I went with him, and after a while, I said, Joel, you're on your own. I'm waiting right here for you. I said, I've had it. This was much more difficult than I signed up for. But he did. He went all the way to the top. But now time, it's near dark already. I'm waiting for him. I'm waiting for him. Joe! Joe! Nothing. Joe! And all of a sudden I hear, Ken! And I start rushing up. And I meet him, and he is almost blind. The sulfur and chemical from the smoke got into his eyes. He went too close and looking over the edge, you know. And I took the water and I started washing his eyes out. And then I started leading him down. We had to go. We couldn't do anything. We didn't have food. We didn't have jackets, you know, like nighttime jackets. It was getting cold. And finally, as I'm going down, I find this part where the rains must have cleared all the loose rock and became big boulders, flat, smooth boulders, like a coffee table, one after another, you know, with a crack and then another one. But it was smooth. It was like a water slide. Not, you know, that's an exaggeration. Like, it wasn't one solid thing, but it was like that, rock after rock. And it was easy to walk down. It was great, you know, because we could walk this path without gravel. And we start walking, and he's behind me. All of a sudden, I get to a rock, and I take a step, and I fall. I start sliding on my butt with my legs out, and I'm sliding down one rock and a second. And then I look at the third rock, and the third rock flattened out a bit. Like it wasn't going downward, it was flat. And I see that there's no fourth rock. It was a waterfall going hundreds of feet downward. And I slide. Now I'm taking my fingers and I'm instinctively clawing into the rock. And I hit the flat part. And just like I'm sitting in this chair, I end up with my feet over the edge and my butt sitting like a chair at the edge. And my life, like they say, was flashing in front of me, you know, and I'm like, oh, and the only thing I could think of is my brother sliding down too. So I'm yelling, don't stop, Joe, stop! Because I could just think of him sliding and knocking me off the thing. And I stand up, I get up, and I don't know if you've ever heard of the phrase, scared shitless. Well, baby, all of a sudden my legs are shaking, my bowels are loosening, I take off my pants so fast, and I shit right there on that rock. And my life saved. I'm humiliated beyond belief, but I'm alive, right? And Joel and I went to the grassy part, and we used the grass to sort of hold on and get down to the valley. And then we walked down this valley part that was wet, but was flat, and we could walk very quickly. And that was our mistake. We needed to, when we started, to the 4 hours to walk down the. So within like a half hour or so, we're back at the sort of the start where the ridge was. We climb up the ridge, and I could see one light in the distance. Everything's dark everywhere except one light bulb. And I said, let's go for that light bulb. And we do. We get back there. We put our muddy socks out. Somebody stole them in the middle of the night. Our socks were stolen. And the next morning we were stiff as hell. We went into the hot springs. By the time we got out of the hot springs, we were fine. And life went on. I dodged a bullet that day. So that's the South American story.